before I get to today's idiot of the day, I don't see a whole lot of overlap between Disney and the NBA. From the original film, when did it come out? A while ago. America has moved on quite a bit from those innocent days of whenever the hell that thing came out. And Disney itself has moved on. And by on, I mean in a downward spiral into, like, I don't know, hedonism, degeneracy. Yeah, degeneracy. A lot of degeneracy. So I don't see a lot of overlap with basketball and Disney characters. Like, those are really two separate audiences. I don't see, Marvel characters, superhero characters. There's not a whole lot of interest in superhero characters outside of the films. And even then, I don't think the interest is in these characters as they were written in the comic books. It's just in seeing a big budget film, like those, like films that are made for China, the Chinese audience, like Transformers types of films, special effects, just explosions, nonstop shootings, and people jumping from one building to another, Jackie Chan type of things. I think that's what people are going for. They're not going because they read the comics, because nowadays very few people read comics, because the actual comic stores themselves are just they're just garbage, absolute garbage. As you know, because you've probably picked up a comic every now and then quickly put it down when you see that the people in the comics don't look like the people on screen, which, to me, a normie, sounds insane. Sounds like, why wouldn't you want to capitalize on the success of billion-dollar films? I don't know. What do I know? I'm sure Disney knows what it's... Oh, no, wait. Disney doesn't know what it's doing. Which is weird because, they're not stupid people. They're smart people. Which then leads you to believe, like, wait, are they losing money on purpose? Oh, well, it's possible they have an ulterior motive. Like I keep saying, these are narrative companies versus profit companies. They are very, very much pushing a narrative. All right, so everyone's seen the video by now. Hopefully you've watched it in slow-mo and you've seen what happened. And the circle back girl of the executive branch, whatever her name is, she seemed to sell out, or she's a representative of the executive, who seemed to sell out the cop who made a split-second tough decision. And I'm not pro-cop by any mean. I'm definitely not pro-state brutality. That was a split-second decision where even, like, people who are not pro-cop can look at that and go, if someone is about to gut me like a fish, please put them down like a rabid dog. Sucks she was 16. That sucks a bag of dicks. It would have been great to turn her life around. Like a 16-year-old girl probably doesn't have a lifetime of crime where it's like a 36-year-old multiple felon. So, yeah, it sucks that she didn't get the chance to turn her life around. Sometimes the best decision is the best of two really shitty decisions. What do you want him to do? So what's going to happen now, because the Jenna Psaki, or whatever her name is, seemed to not support the guy who made that split-second decision when you really should have, you should have come out and backed that guy up, backed up that department, said, yeah, that was it. This is not an example of police malfeasance. This is a very tough decision. He made the right decision under brutal, quick circumstances. That's life. That's life. These are not superheroes. What do you want him to do? So what's going to happen now is, like, cops know which way the wind is blowing, so they're going to start slow rolling to these events. Because for society, it's better for society if those two girls in those protected categories, if it's a POC on POC issue, societally speaking, it's better if they do what they're going to do and the police slow roll. Let the situation resolve itself, if you know what I mean. And which sucks, which means you're going to get, like, that girl had a 7-inch steak knife, and that was going to gut her like a fish. She would have been, those are brutal, brutal wounds. It would have been better if it had already been resolved when he showed up. What do you want me to say? That's the truth. So people like these idiot actors and these pundits on TV and Joey Behar, on the whatever the View, and these people are just the most privileged, narcissistic sociopaths on earth because they write checks that our bodies cash. They're the same people who are like totally open borders, but they don't live in border towns, or they're not. They live in gated communities in mansions with guards, or they have concealed carry permits. So they never have to deal with the consequences of their actions. For someone, like, they're always hoping that the adults are still in control. The adults have not left the building, except adults in America are in very short supply. Like, a lot of us adults are looking around. We're like, nobody's going to come to save us, are they? There's no Green Berets, like, waving the American flag, who are going to jump down out of a helicopter, like fast rope out of a helicopter. There's no good old boy Southerners who are going to come out in the Dixie, what was that, Dodge Charger? Or was me? I don't know. The car with the stars and bars on it. Was it a Dodge or an Oldsmobile? I remember it had a six-pack, right? Like 3 carburetors or something. I don't remember. It was like 3 two-barrel carburetors, and they called that a six-pack. I don't know. It was a sweet car. Like these, there's nobody, there's no adults in America. We're it. Like, so if you're 40 and, fat, you got to look in the mirror and realize, like, holy shit, you might have to get, I don't know, dust off the old musket and raise the flags and form the neighborhood militia and get historical. It's crazy times, good times. May you live in their interesting times. So my point is that these people never have to live the consequences of their decisions because they live in gated communities, and we don't live in gated communities. So, like, we actually have to, worry about stand your ground laws, because the only thing that's keeping us from safety is a liberty device, because we don't have gates. We don't have guards at the front gate to keep out the undesirables. We are the undesirables. So it's the utmost cowardice for a wealthy celebrity to say this kind of stuff, to not back up what is a good shooting. Yes, there's tons of bad events in America. This was not one of them. It was a split second. So it doesn't cost her anything to say these kind of things. And then the next thing they say is that it seems to be entirely common accepted behavior for people in their community they use the phrase knife fight, but a knife fight implies, I don't know, a Spanish, a German, French duel with those eppies, rapiers, and like twirly mustaches. 2 people, mutually engaged in combat. That's a fight. An attack is something different. It implies one person is armed with a pig sticker, and the other person is defenseless, which in this case it was. It was a 16-year-old girl versus probably a 16-year-old girl who, one had a 7-inch knife, that's what it looked like, and the other was about to be gutted. And now the tragic and funny thing is 2 things, is they seem to be saying that this is common accepted practice in their community, which is not quite the own you think it is. That's more of an own goal, where you're kind of showing the world that you're a fucking idiot, or you're too stupid to understand what you just said. And the second thing is that literally the day before, 24 hours earlier, there was a 13-year-old girl of the same group with a knife who did her friend in. Literally 24 hours before, 13-year-old girl, same scenario. She cut her friend's throat and killed her. Now, you probably didn't hear about that on the news because people who control the media don't want you to know about it. So they're saying this is common accepted behavior in their groups. Now, normal people who aren't fucking crazy look at this and say, well, we don't want any part of this. If you want different rules for different people, literally different laws for different people, or if the occasion of POC on POC crime, you want the police to slow roll, which is what they'll be doing de facto, not necessarily de jure yet, but you're saying you de jure want different laws for different people, you can have that happen. You can make anything happen you want in America, legally speaking, if you really want it, because, the laws are whatever you say they are. but you're going to need to have a separate area. Oh boy, you thought segregation was over. Oh no, Monfrere. Literally, you're going to have to bring back segregation. But I mean, not just back the bus type of thing. You're going to have two whole geographic groups, like not necessarily states, but you're going to have very large areas where the entire area has a charter and a covenant that runs with the land, set of terms and conditions that now would violate federal code. But of course, you can rewrite those codes if you want to say this is going to be a POC area, this is going to be a non-POC area. You're going to have charters that apply to different people, which is literally what you're calling for, even if you're not actually using the word separation or segregation, but that's what you're calling for. So you might as well call a spade and say, this is what we want. We want to go back in time. Fine, if that's what you want. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but you might as well call it what it is and work towards getting it legally. Now, the puppet masters who are pulling the strings won't let that happen. I don't mean to say they will resist it. I mean they won't let it happen. And no, the puppet masters aren't Biden or whoever. No, they're not your elected officials, most of them. They won't let it happen because they need a cop to go delete people. Like every few weeks, a cop will delete somebody. That's just life in a country of 1/3 of a billion people. You've got a lot of bad people in America, and you've got different people, different groups rubbing up against each other, causing chaos. But in a country of 1/3 of a billion people, most of the time it's a pretty reasonable amount of chaos. You're saying you want to separate into different states. Okay, then you didn't actually say that in so many words, either because you don't know what you're talking about, or you don't know. You're not looking into the future a few more moves, because that's what you're calling for. Either the police hear that it's POC on POC and they hesitate, slow down before they arrive and let the thing settle itself, or you have entire cities and geographic zones set up where POC respond to POC issues. And if you say, we want the police to escalate their use of force even when there's a deadly threat, let's say a knife attack, yes, everyone knows it's a deadly threat, but we want the police to not go to the Liberty device first. We want them to use taser, pepper spray, baton, and then 115 grain aspirin. Okay, but most normal people don't want to live like that, and most normal black people don't want to live like that, because I grew up with black people, and they don't regularly engage in knife fights because they're not insane. All these people who say, oh, I knew it. These people on Twitter, they're saying, in my school we had knife fights all the time and the teachers just took the knives away. No, you had students who had pocket knives who were fighting. They weren't engaging in knife fights, because that would make the news, because you'd have a lot of dead kids. You'd have kids with horrific scars. So these people are all insane. Anyway, comment, subscribe, guys. Go to Odysee, BitChute. Odysee is beautiful. It's just, oh my God, his titties and beards taken off. To have free speech and be able to say whatever the fudge you want to say in the comments is a great experience. YouTube has been stupid for 3 years, super hardcore stupid. So anyway, check out alternatives.